Gabon this week burned a stockpile of ivory seized from poachers, a highly symbolic move against a surge in killings of elephants and rhinos across Africa to meet Asian market demand. We spoke with Lee White, Executive Secretary of the National Agency for National Parks, and this is what he had to say.
Yeah, I mean, the President actually did put the torch to the stockpile of ivory, so he burnt Gabon's entire ivory stock today. And the intention is to pass a very clear message to the poachers and the ivory traffickers in Gabon that Gabon is closed. We're not open for business when it comes to wildlife crime. And to pass a very strong message to the international community that countries that allow this illegal commerce in ivory to go ahead really need to do a lot more in their efforts to stamp it out, and to our partners that Gabon is very serious about implementing natural resource governance and laws.
Lee, let's talk a little bit about that when you talk about a little bit more needs to be done, because one of the things that Gabon has done so far is this increase the amount of people and the staff that it needs to be able to curb the poaching that is happening right now. And the problem and not just from the reports I've been hearing, but also in a previous interview we had on this topic, was that a lot of what is happening right now in Gabon is from foreigners coming into the country and actually being the ones that are poaching. So in terms of border control, what does Gabon intend to do about that?
Well, the problem we have is that the African forests, the vast African forests, have lost about 80% of their elephants in the last 20 years. So DRC has gone from 200,000 elephants to maybe a maximum of 10,000 today. And having eliminated the elephants from DRC, the poachers are moving their attention to Cameroon and to Congo, and then crossing, as you say, crossing the borders into Gabon. Gabon is only 13% of the forest, but it's 50% of the forest elephants today. What we're doing is we actually, 3 weeks ago, the government signed into existence a new military wing of the National Park Service. So we now have a special force within the National Gendarmerie, which will be armed and which will be specifically posted in the national parks to help the National Park Service to work against the poaching networks, to patrol the borders, to make sure that all of these poachers who are crossing borders, hunting in Gabon and then taking the ivory out of Gabon, just don't get into the country. And if they do, trying to make sure that we catch them before they get away.
Lee, one of the suggestions that has been made is this is a market that does exist, and this is something that is going on. What would happen if there was talk about perhaps making this more legal and regulating it? Is that an option at all in Gabon?
In Gabon and Central Africa, it's right now it's very difficult to survey all of the forests. I think what we're aiming for in the future is to get the National Park Service, the Forest Service, to the point where we can absolutely control the territory and manage our elephant populations in a professional the way you do in South Africa, if you want.
Lee, what I mean,
but we're on an upwards curve. We're a relatively young national parks agency. We've increased our staffing levels from 70 to 400 in the last 2 years, so we're making great efforts, but we need to get up to about 1,000 people, and it's going to take us a good 5 to 10 years to recruit and train and get to the point where we can really control the forests.
The SME sector in Kenya and East Africa accounts for approximately 90% of all companies and accounts for as much as 60% of the available jobs. Kenyan entrepreneur Njeri Rionge has an ambitious plan to bring together African entrepreneurs, SMEs and investors.
The reason for the summit is actually to bring entrepreneurs together to have conversations around things that actually are pertinent to entrepreneurs. Largely, it's about scaling businesses upwards. We all know that Africa is the next economic frontier, and for that reason, we need to continue to engage with each other and ultimately also create what we would call African indigenous companies and also international companies that can actually scale with the opportunity for growth in Africa.
Are the challenges of being an entrepreneur or a small business owner in East Africa the same kind of challenges that an entrepreneur perhaps in South Africa would face and perhaps in a more developed economy like Europe? Or are they very specific to the local environment?
I think largely our entrepreneurs have exactly pretty much similar experiences, all relating to funding, others relating to capacity building and also management competences and capability for good leadership. And in particular for Africa, I'd say, and particularly Kenya, there are areas of governance, being able to have in place capacity to amortize the revenues by making sure that you're delivering a good service to your customers. So to be able to deliver a good service to your customers, you need to have competent skills within customer services, marketing, human resources, and so on. And I think a lot of the SMEs or a lot of the entrepreneurs gradually develop that as they grow bigger. But whilst your startup, there are very many challenges. You find that an entrepreneur is actually having to multitask and do a lot more work than they ultimately would do because of capacity in terms of funding.
And of course, put the right structures in place to manage the growth going forward. You talk about funding. Is there funding there for SMEs? Are there enough private equity investors perhaps looking for the startups, venture capitalists providing the assets and the capital needed, and perhaps banks, are they coming to the fore?
I think we have an influx of VCs in our country, in Kenya in particular, but I think what is happening is that everybody who's coming into the market to look for opportunities is also coming in with an opportunity to fund, and the price in terms of the cost of funding is way too expensive for the size of businesses that are actually available for great opportunity for growth. So I think there is a mismatch between the cost of funding and the growth capacity for an SME that actually then needs the funding. So somehow, somewhere along the way, we need to find VCs or local VCs, if not angel investors, who are looking to actually seriously look more at the long haul as opposed to the short haul when it comes to investing in this SMEs.
Is that kind of time horizon different when you're talking about Africa and talking about East Africa in terms of that return on investment? Because traditionally, it sits at around 5 years for a private equity investor.
Yes, and I think that would really be the thing, is that yes, you do have a horizon of a 5-year capacity to create capacity for the ROI, but then we have VCs charging up to 24% in interest rates, which is really rather ridiculous. It's a very expensive way of funding a small business, and I think that's where the challenge is. If we can have more companies and more VCs coming into the marketplace, or more funders coming into the marketplace with better rates, you might find that there'll be a better opportunity for return on ROI within the 5-year period.
Uganda-based Pearl Capital Partners, an independent investment fund management group, launched a 2 billion shilling African agriculture capital fund for agri-business. We spoke to Wanjohi Ndagu, head of East Africa office at Pearl Fund.
We launched a 2 billion investment fund today, targeted towards SMEs in the agro-business area in East Africa, mainly because of the potential we've identified. There has been a lot of growth in demand due to population growth, and particularly growth in the urban population, which is demanding a lot more processed food. And that is what is driving the industrialization of agriculture in the region.
I'm sure you have done your due diligence and before coming up with something like this. What kind of opportunities do you see in the region?
The main opportunities are mainly in the grain sector, the dairy sector, horticulture, and non-food items like sisal and cotton as well, so as risky as it may be.
What are you offering specifically for investments?
What we offer is patient capital. We offer capital that is tailored to the needs of the business. And we also participate in the growth of the business, either through instilling best practices in governance. And we also offer business developmental support or business support through our technical assistance facility. And through our wide network in the region, because we've been in this business since 2006, we help them create linkages with other other businesses out there that are maybe in demand of their products.
What is the average size of the capital you're giving these investments?
Our investment size range between $300,000 to $2.5 million per investment, but the average deal size will be anywhere between $1 million to $1.5 million.
What kind of companies are these? Because I'm trying to think from the perspective of somebody who's looking for investments and they're in the agriculture business value chain. How do I know if I qualify?
Well, we have our broad criteria, because we target SMEs. We try not to invest in businesses that maybe have a turnover that is higher than $10 million, or an asset base which is, again, higher than $5–7 million. But what we're in search of is good businesses, businesses with potential, businesses with a growth plan. And that is from early stage businesses to businesses that are almost mature and they're looking for additional capital to go to the next level.
What kind of impact are you foreseeing this having in the SME space in agribusiness?
Well, like most investments in agriculture in the region, there's a lot of multiplier benefits, because agriculture touches on millions and millions of livelihood. You know, in our region here in East Africa, about 70% of the population are employed by agriculture-related businesses. So we generate a lot of impact through that, through employment. But our investment funds as well, besides appraising a business for its financial returns, we also appraise them for their social impact return. Therefore, we look for businesses that have direct interface with smallholder farmers and with potential of having a positive impact in the rural communities.
After the break, more stories making headlines this week.